out of the coalition is both illegal and counterproductive.
Excluding Syrian authorities from the effort that has taken place on their territory not only goes against international law, but undermines the efficiency of the effort.
So why not include Bashar al-Assad in the fight against the Islamic State? Because the Syrian president himself is part of the problem, says State Department spokeswoman Jen Psaki.
The Assad regime continues to indiscriminately use barrel bombs and bombard their own people. There are reports of women and children waiting in line for bread, and they're striking areas where they are standing around. So this is there's a distinct difference between our approach to taking on ISIL and their military efforts.
There are also coalition allies such as Turkey and Saudi Arabia who are determined to bring down the government in Damascus and worry that action against the Islamic State takes some pressure off Assad forces. But the longer airstrikes continue, the greater the likelihood of some on-the-ground coordination with Syria's government, says American University professor Akbar Ahmed.
The ball then rests with President Obama. He's got to make the decision. Is he prepared to talk to Assad or have some dealings with Assad in order to have a joint front against the Islamic State? Again, the question is to weigh the two evils and decide on one.
A decision that Ahmed believes ultimately favors President Assad.
I think it'll be a travesty, but in the world of real politics, in the world of this murky fog that the Middle East is now enveloped in, I think this may be something that we'll be seeing.
For now, coalition partners say they need not coordinate with Syrian government forces because the territory they're attacking, including areas along the Turkish border, are not controlled by Damascus. For Channels TV, Scott Stearns, VOA News at the State Department.
Well, as the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank gets underway in Washington, Ukraine wants to adjust terms of its $17 billion bailout. Kiev says the country is now at war and needs to build new armed forces. But some analysts say the terms of the loans could backfire on Ukraine's economy. The VOA's Henry Ridgwell reports from the Ukrainian capital.
Since the early 1990s, Ukraine has had the worst performing economy among the former Soviet states. Now, analysts say conflict threatens to tip it close to bankruptcy. Economist Ole Soskin, director of the Institute of Society Transformation in Kiev, says the World Bank estimate that Ukraine's economy will shrink by 8% is generous.
We're expecting that Ukrainian GDP will fall by about 15% at year-end 2014. You have to remember that two parts of the country are cut off, Crimea and Sevastopol, and life in two other large regions, Donetsk and Luhansk, is completely chaotic.
Before the conflict in the east, exports from the Donetsk region totaled $1.5 billion a month, says Donetsk Governor Sergei Taruta.
Today, the companies in the occupied areas are almost all not working. Everything has been stopped. Coal mines, metal factories, coke plants, machine engineering, and as a result, the export of our products has fallen by 50%.
Ukraine signed a bailout deal with the IMF in April, worth $17 billion, part of a broader $27 billion rescue package. Last month, the Prime Minister said it will need boosting because Ukraine is now at war. But Ole Soskin warns the country should be wary of borrowing more money from the IMF.
The IMF is always thinking about how they will get their money back with interest, so naturally they are laying down corresponding conditions and asking Ukraine, how are you going to repay these loans?
Soskin is critical of those conditions, which require spending cuts and an end to gas subsidies. Public sector wages are being cut and property taxes raised. But such reforms go hand in hand with Ukraine's transformation, insists Donetsk Governor Sergei Taruta.
Reforms will only make us stronger against the disaster we have now. This is a time when society is consolidating around one desire: to change the authorities, to conduct reforms, and restart the economy fast.
Ukraine's national bank has implemented a floating exchange rate for the hryvnia currency. Its value has plunged more than 40%. The one lifeline is that makes Ukraine's exports cheap, but it has to find new markets. Weaning Ukraine off its historic reliance on Russia is healthy, says Ole Soskin.
Yesterday, we celebrated the winners of the 2014 Nobel Prize for Physics. 2014, beg your pardon, I'm ahead of myself. The 2014 Nobel Prize in Chemistry has been awarded to a trio of researchers for improving the resolution of optical microscopes. Eric Berdzig, Stefan Hell, and William Muene used fluorescence to extend the limits of the light microscope. The winners will share prize money of 8 million kroner. That's about 0.7 million pounds. They were named at a press conference in Sweden and join a prestigious list of 105 other chemistry laureates recognized since 1901. The Nobel Committee said the researchers had won the award for the development of super-resolved fluorescence microscopy.
I just said, can it be true that this is incredible? This is really amazing and thrilling, very exciting. I mean, it was something that makes your heart race because it's one of those things. Whether it happens, it's fantastic. If it doesn't happen, well, it doesn't happen, and you go on with your life. And so, you know, I'm pleased and honored to be recognized and to have the field and my collaborators and students, postdocs, and over many years be a part of this.
I'm sure much of that prize money will go into more research, but that's the world today. Thank you for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani.